When I first joined the military, of course, I was 21 years old. My family was on the East Coast in Philadelphia. I had a younger brother who was ultimately drafted, and he went in 1970 to the Navy. At that time, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have anything, so we wrote letters, and it would take weeks, especially overseas. You'd write a letter and hope to hear back, within several weeks. When you were at sea, on a ship, you had to wait for another ship to bring the mail out. So we did the best that we could to try and stay in contact in between commands, and we would rotate off each command after about 2.5 years. It was tough to stay in touch, but there were always welcome postcards and things like that. Growing up in Philadelphia, I knew there was a Navy. It had actually, the Marine Corps was founded there. But it wasn't until I really got into service in the Navy that the entire world, the globe, and what was going on really came into sharp focus. When I signed up for Navy duty, Vietnam had not started. I signed up in 1963. Vietnam really didn't start until August of '64, and that's when I just went off to become a midshipman. Nothing was predictable. You would set out on a particular mission, or you'd have certain things that you wanted to try to accomplish, and then suddenly you weren't able to do it. One of the jokes we used to have in the Navy was, indecision is the key to flexibility. I've heard other vets mention that coming back from Vietnam, which is what I was doing, their reception was horrible. They were mistreated. I chose, being somewhat adventuresome, I left Saigon and I flew to Bangkok. And from Bangkok I flew to New Delhi. Then I flew to Karachi, Pakistan. Then I flew into Spain because I took a military airlift that I could just pick up. I had 30 days leave, so I went around. So I came back to the United States by way of the East Coast because my home was in Philadelphia. So I didn't experience the same reception that many of the vets had when they came back to California in that area. But I think that I adjusted initially as a surface officer. I thought, I can't drive ships for the rest of my life. So most of us that served in Vietnam and were officers either chose to go to get their MBAs in business school or law school. So I came back and I applied to law school. I was late getting my applications in from Vietnam, so I took a year off, traveled the world, and then came back and then started at the University of Denver Law School. Everybody's service was different, but in many cases there were sacrifices, and there was a lot of challenges that people went through, and it's because of that that I think we have the country that we live in today to be able to pass on to our kids, our grandkids, and future generations. So I thank you for conducting these interviews and making this available to both your classmates and schoolmates as well as the general public.